Yes, hello everyone. Good evening. Today we have joined in Wednesday's Dhamma reading session, and today we will be reading from Dīgha Nikāya 10 with the sutta name is called as Subha Sutta. And before starting the session, we will recite Namo Tassa 3 times to pay homage to the Blessed One. You can recite along with me. Namo Tassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. Yes, today we will be reading from Dīgha Nikāya 10. I will be sharing the screen. Central. And I am referring from Sutta Central website. This is a reference for DN 10. I am sharing the screen now. Yes, I think my screen is visible. Nanda madam, if you can read, you can start reading.
Subha Sutta by Bhikkhu Sujato. So I have heard. At one time, Venerable Ānanda was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. It was not long after the Buddha had become fully quenched. Now, at that time, the student Subha, Tudeya's son, was residing at Savatthi on some business. Then he addressed a certain young student. Here, young student, go to the ascetic Ānanda and in my name bow with your head to his feet. Ask him if he is healthy and well, nimble, strong, and living comfortably. And then say, Sir, please visit the student Subha, Tudeya's son, at his home out of sympathy. Yes, worthy sir, replied the young student, and did as he was asked. When he had spoken, Venerable Ānanda said to him, It's not the right time, young student. I have drunk a dose of medicine today, but hopefully tomorrow I'll get a chance to visit him. Yes, worthy sir, replied the young student. He went back to Subha and told him what had happened, adding, This much, sir, I managed to do. At least the worthy Ānanda will take the opportunity to visit tomorrow. Then, when the night had passed, Ānanda robed up in the morning, and taking his bowl and robe, went with Venerable Chetaka as his second monk to Subha's home, where he sat on the seat spread out. Then Subha went up to Ānanda and exchanged greetings with him. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, he sat down to one side and said to Ānanda, Worthy Ānanda, you were the worthy Gautama's attendant. You were close to him, living in his presence. You ought to know what things the worthy Gautama praised and in which he encouraged settled and grounded all these people. What were those things? Student, the Buddha praised three spectrums of practice, and that's what he encouraged, settled and grounded all these people in. What three? The entire spectrum of noble ethics, immersion, and wisdom. These are the three spectrums of practice that the Buddha praised.
Yes, madam. Before going to forward, we will be reading the same thing in a twin perspective so that we can understand in twin perspective what we can take this into our practice. Yes, Pai, you can read this one, Pai.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, you're quoting from Subha Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 99, a beautiful dialogue between the young Brahmin Subha, son of Todiya, and Venerable Ānanda shortly after the Buddha's parinibbāna. This sutta is very helpful in understanding how the Dhamma was preserved and lived after the Blessed One's passing. Let me highlight the key relevant points for twin practice. 1. Ananda's unique position. Ananda was the Buddha's attendant for over 25 years. He was constantly in the Buddha's presence, listening to Dhamma, repeating it, and preserving it. So Subha naturally wants to know, what exactly did the Buddha keep emphasizing, encouraging, and grounding the people in? This is a question about the core of the Dhamma. 2. The Buddha's threefold training. Ananda replies that the Buddha consistently praised three spectrums called paññā, sīla, which is ethics and morality, conduct purified by the precepts, kindness, and restraint. This creates the foundation for a peaceful mind. In twin, this is expressed through right speech, right action, right livelihood, and especially through keeping the precepts joyfully, not mechanically. Samādhi, which is immersion or collectedness. Not a tight, one-pointed concentration, but the collected, open, smiling mind developed through the 6R practice. Bhante Vimala Ramsay emphasizes this. The Buddha taught samadhi with relaxation and smiling awareness, not rigid absorption. Paññā, which is wisdom stroke understanding. Seeing clearly the impersonal processes of dependent origination, how craving leads to suffering, and how its cessation leads to freedom. In twin, this unfolds naturally when one relaxes, lets go of craving, and sees how the mind moves. This leads to direct insight into the Four Noble Truths. Point 3. Why this matters in twin. When we practice twin, we are walking directly in the threefold training. Ethics, keeping precepts, lightens the mind and creates joy. Collectedness, the 6 R's bring a mind that is steady but flexible. Wisdom, each time craving is let go of, we gain insight into how suffering arises and ceases. This is precisely the training the Buddha grounded his disciples in. Ānanda is confirming for Subha and for all of us that there's no secret teaching, no hidden doctrine, just a threefold path practiced again and again, leading to Nirvana.
Yes, thank you, Pai. It is really good in the sense we here the sutta is starting with the basic practice, like even we advise the students to only practice only three things. Taking care of Dhamma means taking care of only the three things. Like first thing is ethics, like sīla, like following the precepts. Like a new student generally takes all these 5 precepts or 6 precepts which we take. We take precepts, maintain the precepts, practicing the precepts, and we work all. We need to have all the actions within this boundary of precepts. This is called a sīla. And in another emphasis, we can tell that sīla is nothing but a foundation for our practice. Like a building, I quote this example very often. Like any foundation, any building has a foundation in it, and without foundation, the building cannot sustain. In a similar way, to cultivate an happy or happiness or in peace, this foundation is called as sīla. The sīla should be strong. If sīla is not strong or sīla is not maintained, then definitely one cannot expect to have a peace and happiness in their mind. Second thing which we need to take care of Dhamma is practicing the meditation. Like we generally advise students to practice, like for already completed retreat students, we advise them to sit for at least 1 hour in a day. And because of practicing, maintaining the precepts, practicing the sīla, and following the practicing the meditation, one gains wisdom. Like one gains wisdom every moment when we do 6 hours. Basically, we are removing the distraction or weakening the craving, where which we are growing our own wisdom levels. And these three are very interrelated, and we call it as sīla, samādhi, paññā. Sīla helps for samādhi, samādhi helps for paññā, and paññā, when it grows and it strengthens the sīla, strengthens the samādhi, and these three are very interrelated. What do you say, Nanda Madam, Pai sir?
Yes, I agree with you there. This sutta beautifully explains the Noble Eightfold Path, as you say, which can be summarized as sīla, samādhi, and wisdom. Thank you.
Yes. Pai sir, do you want to add something?
Nothing to add from me.
Fine. And one student, Raj, has joined. Do you want to add something? Gopinath sir. Yes, we will continue reading this.
The entire spectrum of ethics. But what was that entire spectrum of noble ethics that the Buddha praised? Student, it's when a realized one arises in the world, perfected, a fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy knower of the world, supreme guide for those who wish to train, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. He has realized with his own insight this world, with its gods, maras, and divinities, this population with its ascetics and brahmins, gods and humans, and he makes it known to others. He proclaims a teaching that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end, meaningful and well praised. And he reveals a spiritual practice that's entirely full and pure. A householder hears that teaching, or a householder's child, or someone reborn in a good family. They gain faith in the realized one and reflect. Life at home is cramped and dirty. Life gone forth is wide and open. It's not easy for someone living at home to lead the spiritual life utterly full and pure like a polished shell. Why don't I shave off my hair and beard, dress in ochre robes, and go forth from the lay life to homelessness? After some time, they give up a large or small fortune and a large or small circle, family circle. They shave off hair and beard, dress in ochre robes, and go forth from the lay life to homelessness. Once they've gone forth, they live restrained in the monastic code, conducting themselves well and resorted for alms in suitable places. Seeing danger in the slightest fault, they keep the rules they've undertaken. They act skillfully by body and speech. They are purified in livelihood and accomplish an ethical conduct. They guard the sense doors, have mindfulness and situational awareness, and are content. And how is a mendicant accomplished in ethics? It's when mendicants gives up killing living creatures, they renounce the rod and the sword, they're scrupulous and kind, living full of sympathy for all living beings. This pertains to their ethics. There are some ascetics and Brahmins who, while enjoying food given in faith, still earn a living by by wrong livelihood. This includes rights for propitiation, for granting wishes, for ghost, for the earth, for rain, for property settlement, and for preparing and consecrating house sites, and rites involving rinsing and bathing and oblations. It also includes administering emetics, purgating expectorants and pharmacologists, administering ear oils, eye restoratives, nasal medicine, ointments and counter ointments, surgery with needle and scalpel, treating children, prescribing root medicines, and herbal bandages. They, they refrain from such such wrong livelihood. This pertains to their ethics. A mendicant thus accomplished in ethics sees no danger in any quarter in regards to their ethical restraint. It's like a king who has defeated his enemies. He sees no danger from his foes in any quarter. A mendicant thus accomplished in ethics sees no danger in any quarter in regard to their ethical restraint. When they have this entire spectrum of noble ethics, they experience a blameless happiness inside themselves. That's how a mendicant is accomplished in ethics. This is that entire spectrum of noble ethics that the Buddha praised. But there is still more to be done. It's incredible, worthy Ānanda. It's amazing. This entire spectrum of noble ethics is complete, not lacking anything. Such a complete spectrum of ethics cannot be seen among the other ascetics and Brahmins. Were other ascetics and Brahmins to see such an entire spectrum of noble ethics in themselves, they'd be delighted with just that much. This is sufficient. Enough has been done. We've reached the goal of our ascetic life. There is nothing more to be done. And yet, you say, but there is still more to be done.
Yes, thank you, Nanda madam. Now we will be reading the trim version of this ethics, which we have read now. Yes, Paisar, you can read this one.
Okay. I thought you'd blown up the bot for a second there.
Yes,
Beautifully
you
brought
can.
forward.
Yes.
Beautifully brought forward. You're continuing in the Subha Sutta, Dīgha Nikāya 99, with Ānanda's explanation of the first spectrum, sīla, noble ethics. Let's unpack this in the light of twin practice and Buddha Vimala teaching. 1. Ethics as a foundation. Ānanda explains that when a Buddha arises, he reveals the path that is entirely full and pure. This inspires householders to go forth, but the heart of the teaching is not limited to monks. The spectrum of ethics is really about living harmlessly, with compassion, and with integrity in body, speech, and livelihood. For twin meditators, keeping precepts is not a heavy burden, but a joyful support. Bhante always says, when you keep precepts well, you don't have anything to be guilty about, so joy naturally arises. That joy helps you in your meditation. So the precepts are not rules for punishment, but conditions for a happy and collected mind. 2. Ānanda's detail on ethics. He highlights several key aspects. Non-harming, they renounce the rod and the sword, living full of sympathy for all beings. This is a heart of loving kindness, metta. Right livelihood. Avoid trickery, fortune-telling, and professions that exploit people's fears. Instead, one's livelihood should be upright, bringing no harm to oneself or others. Contentment, mindfulness, sense restraint. Not chasing sense pleasures recklessly, but living simply. When ethics is fully lived, Ānanda compares it to a king who has defeated all enemies. The practitioner feels safe in all directions. I just like to add a point about right livelihood. One of the things is that the Buddha said is an aspect of right livelihood is not to exploit people. So like you have like like tourist traps. They tend to like overcharge tourists. Well, I think in Buddhist ethics that wouldn't really be allowed. I'm sure we can perhaps discuss it later. Anyway, okay, I digress. 3. The blameless happiness. Notice how Ānanda concludes. When they have this entire spectrum of noble ethics, they experience a blameless happiness inside themselves. This is crucial for twin. Keeping ethics leads to joy. Joy leads to collectedness. Collectedness allows wisdom to arise. This is why ethics is always the first spectrum. Without it, samādhi and paññā do not fully develop. 4. There is still more to be done. Subha is amazed because many other teachers at the time stopped at ethics. For them, simply living harmlessly was the goal. But Ānanda stresses this is only the foundation. The Buddha taught further development, immersion, which is samādhi, and wisdom, which is paññā. In twin terms, ethics is the fertile soil. Immersion, in other words, collected mind with joy and ease, is the blossoming plant. Wisdom, which is insight into dependent origination, cessation of craving, is the fruit.
Yes, thank you, Pai, for the reading. This is also a very interesting thing that here the importance of precepts have been elaborated. And even it was said in the Bhante said in this context that maintaining for twin practitioners, maintaining precepts is not a burden. It is a joyful support. It is very, very well stated by Bhante here. And definitely, as one maintains the precepts, the joy arises naturally. And when this joy arises, our collectedness improves, like samadhi improves. And when samadhi improves, then we are improving our paññā. It is very really interconnected. And even we in our retreat, we talk about right livelihood, where we discuss that we should perform any livelihood which doesn't harm anyone. Like here we should know, like first precept we have undertaking to abstain from killing or harming living beings on purpose. Like any livelihood which we perform should not harm others, and we should undertake those livelihoods such that we maintain the precept, and it will help in our practice in turn. Really, it was rightly said. Nanda madam, do you want to add something? Paisa, do you want to add?
Nothing from me.
I quite agree with you. Keeping precepts is vitally important. And also what I personally realized was it was vitally important to practice the right kind of meditation as well, so that sīla, plus the right type of meditation, will help us to experience the jhanas and the samadhi states, and eventually, when the conditions are right, to experience the cessation. So this is very true. Keeping the precepts, as you said, Twimmers keep the precepts, 6 precepts. In addition to, whenever we can, we make an effort to keep the 8 precepts, and even 10 precepts is the foundation. But also, in my own personal experience, I feel practicing the right meditation, like practicing the Metta Vipassana, is vitally important as well. That is the second step, of course. Thank you. What
Yes,
did Pai say about right livelihood?
That you should, that there's a couple of interesting points. I can't remember the second one. Is that you shouldn't have exploitative behavior, even if it is legal. An example I gave is, I think actually the Buddha said something about like kind of like vendors at crossroads. I think was kind of an example he used. You know, sort of like basically overcharge. You know, travelers, and there's another. There's, you know, anything that's
yes,
you
yes,
know exploitative in a
yes,
way.
yes. I will ask this Twimbu to elaborate on this so that we can get more insight about it. Like here in the Subha Sutta, Ānanda specifically mentions that a mendicant should avoid low arts and wrong livelihood, things like fortune telling, charms, propitiations, medicine for profit, rituals for rain or property, etc. These were common professions among ascetics and brahmins in his time. The principle behind right livelihood, the essence is don't exploit fear, superstitious, or desire. Don't end a living in a way that causes harm to others. Do support life, well-being, harmony. This is why the Buddha consistently rejected trades in weapons, human beings, intoxicants, poisons, and killing animals. For lay people in film, Bhante Umramsi often points out that livelihood must be seen in light of the intention behind it. Does this livelihood create harm for living beings? Does it stir up craving, fear, or delusion in others? Or does it contribute to peace and well-being? So, if someone makes their living honestly, without deception, manipulation, or harming beings, then they are in line with right livelihood. For meditators, right livelihood is also deeply practical. If your work is rooted in trickery, guilt, or harm, it will weigh on your conscience. That guilt and restlessness blocks joy. Without joy, meditation cannot go deep. Bhante used to say, you can't sit on the cushion with a guilty mind. Keep the precepts. Then, when you sit, joy will come easily. In summary, right livelihood means living in such a way that you cause no intentional harm. You don't make your living from deception. Your work supports a mind free of regret, which naturally inclines to joy, samādhi, and wisdom. Yes, Pai, I think did you got it? You got the point clear, Pai?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Yes.
I think if I may say, I remember there were a few suttas where it says that it is okay to make reasonable profits, but not extortionate profits, and not to deceive people as well. So right livelihood is important, of course.
Yes, truly. You are truly said, madam. We should make profit, but not at the like a overwhelming profit, which harms the intentions of others. For what I can say here is like for self-sustenance, definitely one needs to make profit, and overwhelming of profit is definitely is a harm to self and others. And since we have got a profit related topic, we can read similar sutta, madam. You can read, madam.
A good question. There actually are suttas where the Buddha talks about wealth and profit for lay people and how it can be gained and used wisely. The main one is the Digha Nikāya Sutta, Anguttara Nikaya 8.54, where the Buddha explains to the householder Digha how to live happily both in this life and in future lives. The 4 conditions for a layperson's happiness in this life. The Buddha says a layperson can find happiness here and now if they practice these 4 things. Udana Sampada, accomplishment in initiative, being diligent and skilled in one's livelihood, putting energy into work honestly and mindfully. Araka Sampada, accomplishment in protection, protecting wealth through wise management, not letting it be lost to fire, flood, theft, or waste. Kalyana Mittata, having good friendship, associating with virtuous people, not with gamblers, drunkards, cheats, or idlers. Samajīvikata, balanced livelihood, living within one's means, not spending recklessly or hoarding excessively. Income and expenditure should be balanced like a scale. the 4 conditions for future happiness. For happiness beyond this life, the Buddha recommends faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, virtue, keeping precepts, generosity, sharing wealth with others, wisdom, understanding impermanence, dependent origination, etc. Profit in the right way. So in the Buddha's teachings, profit is not rejected. Wealth can be gained and enjoyed if it's earned honestly and without harming others. Profit should be protected, used wisely, and shared generously. The Buddha praises wealth that is blameless, earned by right livelihood, because it becomes a support for family, community, and generosity. Twin connection. Bhante Vimalaramsi often emphasized this. For lay people, keeping precepts includes right livelihood, which makes profit wholesome. When wealth is gained honestly and shared with others, it becomes a source of joy and a condition for a happy meditation mind. Clinging to profit, however, only strengthens craving. So the middle way is work diligently, gain wealth honestly, live simply, share generously, and don't cling.
Excellent. Excellent, Nanda madam. It is rightly said that, rightly explained here, wherein we should work diligently, gain wealth honestly, and live simply, and share generously, and don't cling. What do you say, Nanda madam?
It very definitely makes sense. Work diligently, gain wealth honestly, that's vitally important. And live a simple life, make lives much easier, and everything becomes a joy, and able to meditate without any hindrances, and experience the joy of meditation and joy of living.
Yes, rightly said, madam. Here, it is interesting to note that Buddha has given 4 conditions for happiness. First one is the faith in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Second one is maintaining the precepts or keeping the precepts, following the precepts. Third one is generosity. Fourth one is paññā. Really very good thing. It has been explained here. We will continue reading next one. Yes. Paisa, do you want to read?
Sure. 2. The spectrum of immersion. But what, worthy Ānanda, is the noble spectrum of immersion that the Buddha praised? And how, student, does a mendicant guard the sense doors? When the mendicant sees a sight with their eyes, they don't get caught up in the features and the details. If the faculty of sight were left unrestrained, bad, unskillful qualities of covetousness and displeasure would become overwhelming. For this reason, they practice restraint, protecting the faculty of sight and achieving its restraint. When they hear the sound with the ears, when they smell an odor with their nose, when they taste a flavor with their tongue, and when they feel a touch with their body. When they know an idea with their mind, they don't get caught up in its features and detail. If the faculty of the mind were left unrestrained, bad, unskillful qualities of covetousness and displeasure would become overwhelming. For this reason, they practice restraint, protecting the faculty of mind and achieving its restraint. When they have this noble sense restraint, they experience an unsullied bliss inside themselves. That's how a mendicant guards the sense doors. And how does a mendicant have mindfulness and situational awareness? It's when a mendicant acts with situational awareness, when going out and coming back, when looking ahead and aside, when bending and extending the limbs, when bearing the outer robe, bowls and robes, when eating, drinking, chewing and tasting, when urinating and defecating, when walking, standing, sitting, sleeping, waking, speaking and keeping silent. That's how a mendicant has mindfulness and situational awareness. And how is a mendicant content? It's when a mendicant is content when robes to look after the body and arms filled to look up after the belly. Wherever they go, they set out taking only these things. They're like a bird. Wherever it flies, wings are its only burden. In the same way, a mendicant is content with robes to look after the body and arms filled to look after the belly. Wherever they go, they set out taking only these things. That's how a mendicant is content. When they have this entire spectrum of noble ethics, the noble sense restraint, this noble mindfulness and situational awareness, and this noble contentment, they frequent a secluded lodging, a wilderness, the root of a tree, a hill, a ravine, a mountain cave, a charnel ground, a forest, the open air, a heap of straw. After the meal, they return from alms round, sit down cross-legged, set their body straight, and establish mindfulness in their presence. Giving up covetousness for this world, they meditate with a heart rid of covetousness, cleansing the mind of covetousness. Giving up ill will and malevolence, they meditate with a mind rid of ill will, full of sympathy for all living beings, cleansing the mind of ill will. Giving up dullness and drowsiness, they meditate with a mind rid of dullness and drowsiness, receiving light, mindful and aware, cleansing the mind of dullness and drowsiness. Giving up restlessness and remorse, they meditate without restlessness. Their mind peaceful inside, cleansing the mind of restlessness and remorse. Giving up doubt, they meditate having gone beyond doubt, not undecided about skillful qualities, cleansing the mind of doubt. Suppose a man who has gotten into debt were to apply himself to work in his effort to prove successful. He would pay off the original loan and have enough left over to support his partner. Thinking about this, he is filled with joy and happiness. Suppose there was a person who was sick, suffering gravely ill. They'd lose their appetite and get physically weak. But after some time, they'd recover from their illness and regain their appetite and their strength. Thinking about this, they'd be filled with joy and happiness. Suppose a person was in prison in jail, but after some time they were released from jail, safe and sound, with no loss of wealth. Thinking about this, they would be filled with joy and happiness. Suppose a person was a bond servant. They would not be their own master, but indentured to another, unable to go where they wish. But after some time, they'd be free from servitude. They would be their own master, not indentured to another, an emancipated individual, able to go where they wish. Thinking about this, they'd be filled with joy and happiness. Suppose there was a person with wealth and property who was traveling along a desert road which was perilous with nothing to eat. After some time, they crossed the desert safely, arriving within a village, a sanctuary free of peril. Thinking about this, they'd be filled with joy and happiness. In the same way, as long as these five hindrances are not given up inside themselves, a mendicant regards them as a debt, a disease, a prison, slavery, and a desert crossing. When these five hindrances are given up inside themselves, a mendicant regards this as freedom from debt, good health, release from prison, emancipation, and a place of sanctuary at last. Seeing that the hindrances have been given up in them, joy springs up. Being joyful, rapture springs up. When the mind is full of rapture, the body becomes tranquil. When the body is tranquil, they feel bliss. And when blissful, the mind becomes immersed. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, they enter and remain in the first absorption, which has the rapture and bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected. They drench, steep, fill, and spread their body with rapture and bliss born of seclusion. There's no part of the body that's not spread with rapture and bliss born of seclusion. It's like when a deaf bathroom attendant or their apprentice pours bath water into a bronze dish. Sprinkling it little by little with water. They knead it until the bowl of bath water is soaked and saturated with moisture, spread through inside and out, yet no moisture oozes out. In the same way, a mendicant drenches, steeps, fills, and spreads their body with rapture and bliss born of seclusion. There's no part of the body that's not spread with rapture and bliss born of seclusion.
Yes, thank you, Pai sir. We will read up to here itself, so that we will read in film perspective. Yes, Nanda madam, you can read, madam.
Excellent. You are now bringing in the second spectrum, which is the Buddha's teaching on immersion samadhi from the Kulahata Dhamma Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 27. Let's look carefully at how this unfolds and how it connects to twin practice. The spectrum of noble immersion. The Buddha sets the scene by showing the gradual training, guarding the sense doors, not getting caught in features and details. In Twim, this corresponds to not following craving when sights, sounds, thoughts, etc. arise. Instead of clinging, you recognize, relax, and smile. This is what allows true restraint without suppression. Mindful and clear comprehension, sati-sampajana, being aware in all activities. Twin stresses continuous mindfulness in daily life. This is not just nothing, but a relaxed, smiling awareness that remembers to let go. Contentment, being satisfied with little. Bhante Vimalaramsi often said, contentment is the highest wealth. It's not about forcing yourself to have less, but about dropping the craving for more. Seclusion in a quiet place, withdrawing after alms round and sitting down to meditate. Giving up the hindrances. Before immersion, the 5 hindrances are recognized as the true obstacles: covetousness, wanting, craving, ill will, aversion, dullness and drowsiness, heaviness, torpor, restlessness and remorse, agitation of mind, doubt, wavering, second guessing the practice. The Buddha gives vivid similes: death, disease, prison, slavery, desert crossing, and their removal is like freedom, health, release, emancipation, safety. In Twim, the tool for removing hindrances is the 6 R's. Instead of fighting or suppressing hindrances, one sees them, lets them go, and return to a wholesome object like loving kindness, metta. This makes the mind joyful and light, the natural gateway to jhāna. The arising of joy, rapture, tranquility, bliss, immersion. This sequence is identical to the one Bhante often quotes from Anguttara Nikaya 11.2. Ethics leads to no remorse, leads to gladness, leads to joy, leads to tranquility, leads to happiness, leads to collectedness, leads to knowledge and vision, leads to disenchantment, leads to dispassion, leads to liberation. Here in Majjhima Nikaya 27, it is phrased as joy arises when the hindrances are abandoned. Joy leads to rapture, piti. Rapture leads to tranquility, pasadi. Tranquility leads to happiness, sukha. Happiness allows the mind to settle in immersion, samādhi. This is natural, relaxed collectedness, not forced absorption. First jhāna. The Buddha then describes the first absorption jhāna, rapture and happiness born of seclusion, still with placing the mind and keeping it connected, vitakka, vichara, like a ball of bath powder perfectly soaked with water. The whole body is filled with rapture and happiness. How Twim interprets this is a collected, uplifted state with wholesome joy, not a narrow concentration. You still know what's going on around you. Mindfulness is present. The key difference in Twim, jhana is not absorption, no shutting out of awareness, but a soft, open collectedness where insight continues to unfold. So the spectrum of noble immersion is not just sitting and concentrating. It is a whole lifestyle of restraint, mindfulness, contentment, letting go of hindrances, and naturally entering joyful collected states, jhanas.
Yes, thank you, Nanda madam. It is rightly said that here last para, which is emphasizing that noble immersion is not just practicing the meditation, like it is cultivating the wholesome habits throughout our daily activities, which I understand here. Like we maintain the ethics, which is sīla. And then when we practice the meditation, what exactly we do is we get distractions, or we call it as hindrances, and we remove the hindrances, we apply the 6 R's. And here there is a difference between like the practicing of meditation in the absorption jhana and the practicing which we are following. The practice which we are following is such a way that it is an open soft approach where you are mindful enough what is going on and you are aware, and when distraction comes we apply the 6 R's as recognize, release, relax, smile, return to our object of meditation, and naturally we enter into a states of joyful states, jhanas. It's really well explained here. Thank you, Nanda madam, for reading. Thank you, Pai sir. Nanda madam, do you want to add? Pai sir, do you want to add?
Nothing from me.
I agree with you. I think it is important to have a simple life and be content with what you have, content with little, and then practice the right meditation. To me, the right meditation is Metta Vipassana, and then provided we keep the precepts and live a virtuous life, everything just falls into place, and the mind naturally inclines towards wholesome states and jhanas and ayatanas and samādhi states. And actually, to me, the Metta Vipassana naturally inclines my mind to follow and practice the Noble Eightfold Path, and which eventually leads to cessation when conditions are right, ending suffering completely.
Yes, truly said, madam. Truly said that even in this sutta today we have read at one of the instance, it was explained that we need to continue to do this, like practicing the sīla, practicing the meditation, and cultivating the wisdom, and again and again, again and again. This will eventually strengthen our sīla, samādhi, and paññā. And it was again, it was stated here that when you continue this practice, definitely we will be moving towards the nibbāna. Then rightly, nicely explained here. Like anyone want to share something? Paul sir or Raj sir? Otherwise, we will be sharing merit. Yes, we will be reading the sharing merits now. You can all read together. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you all for joining the session. Thank you, Nanda Madam. Thank you, Pai Sir. Thank you, Raj Sir. Thank you, Paul Sir. Thanking you all.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. And we will continue this DN10 in the next talks. Thanking you all. Bye.